My name is Vince Davis, and I am the state weed specialist in annual cropping systems, primarily corn and soybean. And what I want to talk about today is a national program or campaign we have going on, including myself and about 13 other institutions. That is a project sponsored by the United Soybean Board and your soybean checkoff dollars. And this campaign is called TakeAction on herbicide-resistant management or herbicide-resistant weeds. You can learn a lot more about this campaign in the handout, but one of the most important pieces in that folder is we designed these magnets that are in the front of these folders, Take Action, so you can put that on the fridge, and that magnet has the URL called TakeActionOnWeeds.com. You can visit that URL. That website is designed very nicely, and it's clear full of all the information, electronic files of what's in this handout today, and plus many other that we've put together, tools and fact sheets. But what I want to do is I want to explain the overall premise of this campaign, this Take Action campaign, and we've broken this down into what we call the 4 pillars of herbicide resistance. And the top pillar is weed out resistance, and some things that we feel are very key educational components of weeding out resistance is to understand your weeds. That includes understanding how to identify those weeds, understanding which weeds are the biggest threat for herbicide resistance in the acres you manage in the surrounding area of which your farms are located. Understand the biology and characteristic of those weeds. Okay, so we're trying to build a lot of information about these problematic weeds, how to identify them, and what's so important about those particular weeds. And all falls underneath that pillar. And the second pillar here is the in the field pillar. And in this pillar are some really important things about diversity. The importance of rotating crops, the importance of using multiple management tactics, integrated tactics like tillage, cover crops, just all of those good integrated weed management practice, scouting, things like that. The use of multiple herbicide sites of action, okay? So all of those integrated tactics underneath that pillar. The third pillar is called spray attention. I'm not going to spend as much time on this pillar today, but I often do. Underneath this spray attention pillar, you'll hear more information about this as time goes on, but underneath this pillar is to understand, again, herbicide site of action, but it gets a little more in-depth underneath this pillar. It's understanding about effectiveness of herbicides. Okay, what do you expect to be able to control certain weeds? So it's not only about using multiple herbicide sites of action in your program, but it's about making sure that those multiple herbicide sites of action are actually effective on the problematic weeds you're trying to control in that system. It's also underneath this pillar are things like managing drift and understanding the environmental properties around spray applications, okay? And those environmental properties are to understand things that may influence drift or off-site movement, as well as understanding environmental properties and how it affects the effectiveness of the products you're using, okay? It's also other things under there like understanding your neighbors and influencing understanding the crop rotations and the sensitive things around you. And a lot of the important things under that pillar is getting more and more important as we embrace or think about the new technologies, some of the growth regulator trait technologies coming down the pipeline in the future, and so more and more things are going to be important related to spray application technologies in that pillar as we go forward. And the last pillar is to understand the bottom line, to understand how herbicide-resistant weeds influences the risk in your farming system. In that folder, there's also all of you should have a poster which looks like this right here, and it's a poster you can hang up in your shop, but it shows the 11 biggest herbicide-resistant weed threats from a national perspective. There are 11 on this sheet, and I do believe there are 9 of these species that we have in the state of Wisconsin out of this top 11, okay? Now you'll notice on these pictures, you'll see these numbers up here on these pictures. Those numbers correspond to the site of action for different herbicide chemical groups that they are confirmed resistant to. Not necessarily in Wisconsin. Again, this is a national perspective. Okay? Those numbers correspond to site of action charts, which you also have in your folder, where it depicts the site of action group for the different herbicides, the number it is. It's all color coordinated, so you can see the base herbicide chemistry with that particular active ingredient, and then a bunch of popular trade names over here on the right hand side of that particular publication that shows all of the different sites of action as they are additive in these tank mixtures. So you have these two things, they are color coordinated and they are designed to work together in combination, so you can see the biggest resistant weed threats with the herbicide resistant mode of action. So